right, I'm going to call this meeting to order of the Leominster School Committee for Monday, May 17th. We are going to all rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it
it
stands,
stands,
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God, indivisible,
with
with liberty and
justice
justice
for
for all.
I'm going to read our school committee statement. The committee represents the needs of all Leominster Public School students and places their interests above all others. We will exercise leadership, adhere to our protocols, and base our decisions upon a reasoned assessment of all available information. We will advocate for each of our schools and support high-quality public education in Leominster. If anybody other than LTV is recording this, you need to please announce yourself now so that everybody is aware of that. Having no one come forward, we're going to presume that only LTV is recording this. I do want, before we begin, to give a moment of silence. I became aware of today that we have, well, today about a loss of one person, but certainly we have lost two people in our community. We have John Richards, our comptroller, recently passed, and Gail Flecky, one of our city councilors, has passed. So if we could have a please a moment of silence to remember them. Thank you, everyone. With that, we're going to open our open forum. We do not have anybody signed up, so if you wish to address the committee, please unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record. Would anybody like to address the committee at this time? Please unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record. One last and final time, if you would like to address the committee, please do so now. With no one coming forward, we're going to close that portion of our meeting. We're going to move right into communications, Superintendent.
There are no communications this evening.
Okay, and then we can move right into your reports, Superintendent.
Okay, please bear with me. There's much happening in the district currently. But first, I want to thank everyone that was involved in the joint effort to vaccinate the students at LHS last Tuesday. With the city's help, we were able to use all available doses and have already planned to follow up with those who participated on June 1st between 2 and 6. So first and second doses for anyone 16 and older. It was a widely accepted clinic. And now, as of today, we have scheduled another clinic for May 25th at the mall. And this clinic will include anyone from the age of 12 and up. This is a first come, first serve basis. So tomorrow morning, there will be a survey going out to families through our lead nurse. But if anybody you have trouble with the survey, you can't access it, or you just want to sign up, we also have someone on a phone line, a hotline at 978-534-7700, extension 1323. Again, that's 978-534-7700, extension 1323. These have been well received, so anyone who would like to participate, please do so. And we will send that communication out as well tomorrow to families as a reminder with the phone number. I also want to remind families that we are open 5 days a week. It feels great. We're back to some sort of, and I'm not going to use this word lightly, normalcy. Although the state required that all high schools return to and reopen as of today, we beat that schedule by weeks. More than 70% of our students are taking advantage of in-person learning. And if you're considering transition, just call your school administrator to discuss the details and the timing. And I want to thank the families for their flexibility. Every day, more and more students are re-entering and re-registering to the Leominster Public Schools. Many have also asked over the weekend about mask wearing. We are following the state and DESE guidance, and today Governor Baker came out and said as soon as tomorrow, recess or any outdoor classrooms, you do not need to wear a mask outside. For the remainder of the school year, staff and students will be required to have a mask on in the school and on buses. We are waiting to hear about summer school because that starts pretty quickly after we get out on June 16th. So again, anytime children go outside, Mother Nature is complying right now. So many classrooms are sitting outside. They're doing their lessons out there, having reading time, math time. So during those now, as of tomorrow, they don't have to wear masks outside. So that's a real celebration for all of us. And any updates, we put them out as soon as we can.
Superintendent, it's my understanding that at the end of May, sports, outdoor sports for
And
high
yes,
school and middle schoolers
masks
do
can
not
come
need a
out
mask.
as well. Yes, as
But
long as
until
they're
then,
outside.
Right,
Yes,
but they still have another week or two to
correct.
follow the
Correct.
protocols in place now.
Yes, thank you. Our summer program, our programming is out. It's been posted. Flyers have been sent home, phone calls, emails. We're advocating to have as many children as possible involved there. If you're just a parent who wants to keep your student, keep them going, keep them activated, keep their skill set up, please look at the offerings. We have offerings for every grade level, for every interest. We just ask that you sign up as soon as possible. Availability does fill up quickly. So there's a lot to be offered. So if you see something that you know your child would enjoy, please sign up as soon as possible. And talking about enjoyment, our Leominster Theater Company, once again, they've done it again. These kids are remarkable. So this year's musical is Bright Star. Performances will be May 22nd at 7 o'clock and May 23rd at 2 o'clock. We will be putting the link in to the chat here, and we will also be distributing it out in a virtual email. These students have worked so hard this year to keep the theater company active and going. If you have any opportunity to watch their performances, they're an amazing group of kids. So please support the Leominster Theater Company. Big items, graduation is still on. June 5th, 10 o'clock, Doyle Field. We have rehearsal on the 4th. Students are being updated daily to make sure who is attending, the procedure, the process. Please contact Dr. Dubzinski at Leominster High if you have any specific questions about your child and graduation. We do have a rain date, but I'm not going to announce it because it's not going to rain. It's that simple. And then lastly, our last day of school is June 16th. We're very excited, but I've received many, many phone calls about what is the first day of school for next year. We are looking for a new, healthier year. So August 31st for families that are making plans, vacation, trying to get away. Last day is June 16th. First day is August 31st. So there will be quite a summer for all the children of Leominster, and we can't wait for a new beginning and lots of sunshine. So thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. So now next on our agenda is our public hearing on the budget. Melanie, I believe you're going to take over from this point.
I have a quick question.
Sure, Dean.
A quick question.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, Dean.
Oh, sorry, I got jumbled up there.
Yep.
So I keep seeing photos on Instagram and everywhere, the Facebook and everything, of people going to graduation proms. Is that not going to happen? And has the lesson restrictions put it back on the table, or is it just too late to do anything?
It's too late for that, but the high school has been doing events with the seniors. Although they're altered, students have been having a really nice time. So they are celebrating every senior throughout the year. They've just changed it. They had a sunrise breakfast up at Sholin Farms. They have some surprises in line. They're keeping the celebration alive. We were not able to have a prom in time. So we're trying to fill that void with another event.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Melanie.
Sure. So before Melanie starts, I just want to thank everyone again who contributed to the creation of the FY22 proposed budget. With the influence and engagement from all building and district administration, staff, parents, and the finance subcommittee, interim budget manager Melanie Michaels has created not only a fiscally responsible budget, but a really solid one. I just ask that she be allowed to get through the presentation before any questions or comments, and she has prepared this presentation for each of you. So Melanie.
Good evening. Thank you, Superintendent Deacon, and thank you, committee. Let me see if I want to make sure this, there it goes. Chapter 70 is the state aid distributed to schools throughout Massachusetts. Most of us know the foundation budget portion and that it's driven by student enrollment. The other part of the Chapter 70 foundation formula, not as familiar, is the local contribution. This portion is the amount each district has the ability to pay towards Chapter 70, and it's driven by its city property values and resident income. As I mentioned in the last slide, Chapter 70 is impacted heavily on student enrollment. A dip in enrollment from one year to the next can have a big impact. The formula is based on the school district enrollment on October 1st of the prior year. In October 2020, due to the pandemic, Massachusetts public schools lost 37,000 students. For the Leominster public schools, enrollment was down 187 students. Based on the combination of those students, that equates to a $1.2 million loss of Chapter 70 funding. You'll notice on this slide the Chapter 70 aid from fiscal 21 to fiscal 22 increased by only $373,982. That's less than 1%. While the city's required contribution went up by $1,127,340, 3.65%. In total for fiscal 22, the increase in net school spending was 1.5 million or 1.88%. This is not the final budget number. The House and Senate release and debate their own versions of the budget before negotiating a single version that will, with any luck, be signed by the start of the fiscal 22 school year. For this presentation, we are going to break down the fiscal 22 budget request as pieces of our pie. There are 5 pieces of pie that we will review separately. I have color coordinated them to make it easier to follow. Each year, we begin the budget process by determining the district's fixed costs. These are the expenses that must be paid. For fiscal 22, the Leominster Public School budget has 92% dedicated to fixed costs. Let's start with the biggest piece of pie, wages and salaries. For fiscal 22, wages and salaries make up 62% of the school's budget. From year to year, the budget for salaries increases by contractual increases, such as cost of living, step increases, and lane changes. For fiscal 21, you can see we had requested 839.7 full-time equivalent employees. Currently, we have 760 FTEs, not 839. For fiscal 22, the district is requesting 46 positions to bring the total FTEs to 805.9. The 805.9 FTEs includes all current positions, currently posted positions, and positions that will need to be filled for fiscal 22. The district is already seeing the return of many of the 187 students that were not counted on October 1st, 2020. This request is based on a full-in model projected enrollment, and class size. Benefits and fixed charges make up 18% of the budget. The numbers you see here include benefits such as health insurance, dental insurance, and life insurance for active and retired employees, as well as their beneficiaries. You can see historically, we have had a 9 to 10% increase. Fiscal 21 was not a normal year. We are projected to have a savings of approximately 3.4%. In order to project for fiscal 22, we used our current enrollment for benefits and estimated an additional $417,000 for those 46 positions that we will be filling in fiscal 22. The total projected percent of 12.3% is a bit misleading because it is compared to fiscal 21. If we take the fiscal 21 savings into consideration, we net to our historical 9% increase. Special education tuitions have always been a tough projection for budget. The costs can fluctuate greatly from year to year, and the individual student services can fluctuate. From one year to the next, it's challenging to project how many students may need to be sent out of district or how many may move into the district. For fiscal 22, we are projecting that the special education tuitions will be 7% of our budget or our pie. As you can see historically, there is absolutely no trend in the increase or decrease of tuitions like we saw for the benefits. In the past, we have relied on the funds we receive from Circuit Breaker to help offset the tuition expenses. For fiscal 21, we were able to absorb the tuition expenses into the general fund. As per the Massachusetts General Law 603 under school finance, we are allowed to carry forward 2.1 million of Circuit Breaker, which was considered for the fiscal 22 budget. You can see we only included the $6,082,461 for our requested budget. Indirect charges are the expenses that are incurred by the city for the benefit of the schools. This includes costs such as administration, retirement expenses, DPW services, school resource officers, state assessments for school choice sending tuitions, and charter schools. Historically, these charges have been about $6.2 million. What's left to our pie? 8%. 8% that equates to $6,435,270. The last piece of the pie is made up of the other expenses that are not necessarily fixed, but still need to be paid. We can call these intangible expenses. They are not used directly in the classroom. Things such as repair and maintenance for the 11 buildings and equipment, heating and utilities for those same 11 buildings. It includes custodial supplies, lease of equipment, such as the copiers, school security, legal services, and so on. These intangible expenses have historically cost between $3.9 and $4.3 million. That's about 67% of that 8% piece of pie. The last 33% of the 8% piece of pie are the tangible expenses, those that are directly impacting the students in the classroom. Things such as textbooks, curriculum, instructional services, hardware and software, as well as psychological services, medical and therapeutic services, and general classroom supplies. These expenses have historically been between $1.5 and $2 million. Here we see a comparison for the fiscal 21 budget request to the fiscal 22 budget request of those expenses we just reviewed, not including indirect charges. Overall, the fiscal 22 budget request is 2.4% more than the, sorry about that, more than the fiscal 21 budget request, or $1,863,712. The Leominster Public Schools is requesting $52,240,754 in wages and salaries, $27,672.43 in expenses, $4,100,000 in indirects, for a total fiscal 22 budget of $84,012,797. The fiscal 22 budget will be supplemented by other resources that are available. We have one-time federal funding provided to the school district that will be available for the next 3 years to address the impact the pandemic has had. We have revolving accounts that support specific programs or services, and of course, grants. Thank you very much for supporting the students of Leominster.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you. That was nicely done, Melanie. We appreciate all your efforts, along with the Finance Subcommittee and everyone else who has partaken in this endeavor. I'm going to open it up for any questions. I know this is the second time that the school committee has seen this presentation, but I just will call on people individually. Brandon, do you have any questions?
I'm all set with questions. Again, just thank you to everybody who was involved with the budget and getting it put before us tonight.
Ron?
The only question I had for Melanie, when you made your presentation, when you were talking about tangibles versus intangibles, and I don't know if I caught that, the tangibles, was that the software? Did you say software?
Yep, it
And-
includes software.
And is it newer software, or is it software that we have to replenish? That's the only question that I had. Can you elaborate on that, or no? Yes?
Well, every year I think that we're trying to make sure we have the most updated software and hardware for our students to use in the classroom. So if it requires to be updated, then we certainly do put that in the budget and expect to have that as an expense.
Are there any that are close to expiration date on them?
Specifically, I don't have that with me at this time, Ronnie, but I can certainly take a look and get that back to you.
Okay, all right, but otherwise, it's a very good presentation. I really
Thank you.
enjoyed it.
Melissa?
Hi, so no specific questions about the budget. I guess it's maybe a little bit more of an informational request on if the superintendent has heard of any discussion about kind of a waiver or holdover of enrollment after the decline so many districts had last year. I know we've talked about it. I didn't know if they heard anything.
There has not been additional information. We know that there is $40 million that has been set aside to address the enrollment dip, may I say. It's not nearly enough to cover the 37,000 students in the state of Massachusetts. There's two schools of thought. I'm very hopeful that all of our students and then some will be coming back to us, but there are some that are saying that students will not be returning and are choosing to stay out. So it is a grant application process, and the second that we know that it's available, Leominster Public Schools will be on that hotline. We are wonderful about watching and hitting those buttons. Unfortunately, we will be competing with a lot of other districts, and we will make the best of it and hope to receive some additional funding to cover the students that we did not receive funding for because of October 1 numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Michael?
So I'll just add to what we just talked about. I think it's important to realize that $40 million spread amongst 37,000 missing students is only $108 a student. So either the legislature really didn't do the math here, or I'm not sure what else. So we're going to have to watch that very carefully, the enrollment thing. We're already having students come back, so I think it's obvious that our enrollment will be higher than the number that's been used. So as Paula said, we will need to be on top of applying for any supplemental money as soon as it becomes available. Other than that, I have no questions. So good job, everybody, and I'm done.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks. Peter?
The only thing I have, and I just need a reminder, is the increase in 46 FTE full-time employees. That's to achieve that achieves a classroom size of 25, which is in line with the new DESE standards. I know we didn't say that, so I wanted to bring that up as to, the reason for the 46 employees. Other than that, just thank you for everyone who's worked on this.
Thank you, Peter.
Isabel?
I don't have any specific questions either, but I can certainly touch on what both Michael and Melissa spoke to earlier as well. That 40 million in the reserve fund is also for regional transportation. So it's not set aside just for the enrollment dip, which is unfortunate because we know, again, as Michael said, it's $108 a student on top of regional transportation that they are planning to use this fund for. So again, I am super disappointed in the legislature. And I guess we just need to wait and see what the Senate does because they did not vote on their budget yet. So we'll see what ends up coming down the pipeline. But again, I know our district will be fully involved in applying for any grant opportunities that come our way. But other than that, thank you so much for the presentation, Melanie. It was fantastic.
Thank you.
Dean?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, for some reason, there's no more video button here, but that's okay. So I agree with Mike. It's based on my quick calculations here, $108 per student. And this takes it, and I think urban communities ought to be treated differently, obviously, than other communities who didn't have to, their issues were not the same as ours during the pandemic. And I think the other thing is, as you look at some of the other communities, when you're looking at the Student Opportunity Act, places like Worcester, even though there are 1,058 students short, are going to receive an extra 11 to 12 million and 13 million over the next couple of years. How is that even possible that these other communities have less students and losing that many students, but they're getting more money? And they're getting the banana split. We're getting the jimmies because we're getting almost nothing for the Student Opportunity Act. Plus, they're taken away from us because the students haven't come back yet. But just a couple of things. I think anything that we save, whether it's insurance, and I talked to Melanie earlier today about that, any savings that we get in, say, insurance, or if they do kick in with more money the state does kick in more money, or whatever happens at the end, that we should sort of put that aside and keep that as a little bit of a rainy day account in the event that students do come back and we need to hire more teachers, just for the unforeseen things that could happen during the course of the year.
Right.
And I just think we should, and then vote on those issues separately, either as they come up or in whole. But I think a little bit of a reserve would be wise going into this next year, just because of the unknowns. We don't know if the legislature is going to free up that 40 million. And Isabel just said, some of that is regional transportation funds, which, by the way, we would cut all transportation funds from the state. Correct. So having said that, I'd be in support of the budget as long as we can add those items in, that we would keep any additional dollars that come in through either new city money, new state money, savings and insurance as a little bit of a buffer, a little bit of a stabilization account that we can use as things come up, and then at some point transfer them out as we normally do.
I agree.
Great, good point, Dean. All right, having I too don't have any questions. They've been answered, and thank you everyone for everyone's hard work. At this point, I would like to have someone make a motion to pass the budget. I don't know if Michael, you would like to do that?
Sure, I move that we,
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just interrupt for 1 second. I'm sorry. So we actually have to have so we have an open forum, but then we have a public hearing. And so the public hearing, I believe, was posted in the newspaper. So so somebody that speaks at the public forum doesn't necessarily have to speak at the public forum. I mean, somebody that doesn't speak at the public forum chooses not to, they could still speak on the public hearing part of the budget.
So I have never, in all the years that we've done, they've always spoken at the open forum and not during this part
Well,
of the meeting.
I believe
that
we
would
posted
be
as a
a
public
change.
forum. No, it's a public forum for the public to comment on, specifically on the budget. So they don't have to comment. You don't have to speak at the open forum on the budget.
Okay.
It's a public, we posted a public hearing specifically
Yep. No,
for,
I get it.
you understand? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. I understand what you're saying. I think in the past we've always had them speak in a public, the public hearing during the public forum. But I can open it up if anybody in the public has a question that they would like to ask.
I
Or it
think,
would be a comment, either for or against.
Right, a comment. We're not engaging in a conversation with them.
yeah, I just
Sure.
wanted to quickly say, since I didn't make my motion yet, I'm going to hold it off because I agree with Dean. I don't, regardless of timing, I don't think we specifically said public hearing. So I agree that, to be clear, we should give the public now a chance to say something if anybody is on who wants to say something.
So if you can please unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record, if you have any comment about the public forum. Again, it's not going to be a dialogue. Once again, if anybody in the public would like to ask a question, please do so now. And for the last time, if anybody in the public would like to make a comment regarding the budget, this is the time and opportunity to do so. Having no one come forward, we are going to move on with our agenda. Michael, could you please go ahead and make the
Yes.
motion?
So I move that we adopt the budget as presented, including $52,240,754 for wages and salaries and $27,672,043 towards expenses.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it. Oops. Go ahead, Melissa.
Second it. I think she said it first. So we have a motion and a second. At this point, is there any other discussion?
Yes, I would just ask the committee members to make a motion in a second to include just my comments that if there is, if the state legislature changes the numbers at all, and also if the insurance is different, that we come back and revisit that and make appropriations and sort of leave that as a, not that, I mean, in week 2, we could decide to do something different, but just so that we get a chance to vote back on those funds. If anything changes between the city, the state, and the insurance.
Right, so that is the actual procedure. What we're approving now constitutes the school department's official budget request to the mayor, you, Dean. And then we are supposed to get back together to vote on a revised budget once we have the actual appropriation that you send to the city council and that they approve, and any updates, any changes in what the state does. So our normal procedure is that is supposed to happen in September and October, because the presumption is that by then we have all that information. So once we have the appropriation is, we know exactly what we've gotten from the state. We, in fact, the school department will bring a revised budget to the school committee. We'll go through finance. It'll be presented to everyone. We'll have another vote. So there is a formal way we do exactly what you've requested.
So this is going to be a voice vote. Brandon?
Yay.
Ron?
Yay.
Melissa?
Yay.
Michael,
Yay.
Peter,
Yay.
Isabel,
Yay.
Dean,
Yay.
and I'll be a yay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Great job.
The next thing, and yes, congratulations for everyone. So the next thing on our budget is the MSBA vote, and I'm going to, it has to be read specifically, so I'm going to read what Chris has nicely prepared for us. Having convened an open meeting on May 17th, 2021, prior to the SOI submission closing date, the Leominster School Committee, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest form, which will be dated, for the Fallbrook Elementary School located at 25 DeTico Drive, Leominster, Mass., which describes and explains the following deficiencies and the priority categories for which an application to the core program may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future for a total renovation, and hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting this statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or approval of the application, the awarding of a grant or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits the City of Leominster to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. So that was a mouthful, but it was necessary for us to be able to submit the forms so that we can look at renovations to Fallbrook Elementary School.
I make a
So,
motion that we approve that. I brought this up at the last meeting, and Chris and Mr. NATO moved on this swiftly, and we made it. And I think this is better than dealing with it, 1,010 at a time to ask for a complete renovation of the school. So I would make that recommendation to approve the superintendent to submit the application.
I'll
can I have a
second.
second? Thank
I'll
you,
second.
Michael. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Brandon,
I'm all set with questions. Thank you.
Ron,
No, I'm good.
Melissa,
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Michael,
I'm good.
Peter,
No questions.
Isabel,
All set.
Dean,
All set?
and I'm all set. So we have a motion and a second. This will be a voice vote. Brandon,
Yay.
Ron,
Yay.
Melissa,
Yay.
Michael,
Yay.
Peter,
Yay.
Isabel,
Yay.
Dean,
Yay.
and I'll be a yay. Motion carries. Thank you. That's very encouraging and certainly needed.
Thank you.
So we're going to move on to the approval of the minutes. We have minutes from our last meeting as well as the policy subcommittee meeting. Could someone make a motion?
I'd like
for
to make
both
a
of those?
motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All right. Do we have any corrections, omissions, or errors? Woohoo! Good job, Chris. This will be a voice vote. Brandon,
Yay.
Ron,
Yay.
Melissa,
Yay.
Michael,
Yay.
Peter,
Yay.
Isabel,
Yay.
Dean,
Yay.
and I'll be a yay. We're going to move on to the subcommittees. Michael, Finance Subcommittee report.
Finance has not met since the last school committee meeting, although our handiwork is being dealt with tonight. So I have nothing to add at this point.
Great. It's probably
Although-
the first time you haven't had a meeting every week, so
It's been
you
a while.
deserved the rest. All right. Ron, Policy
Yeah.
Subcommittee.
We had a policy meeting tonight. It basically went over the acceptance of minutes, and also we had a student representative from Stump that talked to us for about 10 minutes, and we had a robust discussion about student representation to go on a school committee. It's an ongoing process. We asked Chris to further go and check with MASC, and also we're gonna look at this, work at it, and I believe Paula said that she's going to have the principals come and talk to us and give us some insight on the workings and whatever else belabors the issue.
All right,
That's it.
thank you. Thank you, Ron. So at this point, we're going to move on to action items. We have a transfer of money, I believe.
Yes, so we brought this up at the previous meeting, but we held off on the vote, so people had a chance to look at it. We have a transfer request, as part of our end of the year budget balancing. A total, you've got the details in your packet, but it's a total transfer of $3 million from wages and salaries to expenses. We have money unspent in the salary and wages side and things we need to spend money on the expenses side. So I make a motion that we approve this transfer as requested.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, thank you, Ron. Anybody for discussion? Brandon,
All set.
Ron,
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Melissa,
I'm all set, thank you.
Michael,
I'm set.
Peter?
I just wanted to make a point for the public and those listening, right? The money that's in excess from salaries and wages, that's in large part due to positions that we haven't been able to fill throughout the course of the year. Just so they're aware of where the excess comes from.
Thank you. Isabel?
I'm all set.
Dean?
I'm fine. I just think it would be helpful if we just did a quick overview of where we'll be spending the money. I think people understand why we have excess, but what sorts of things for somebody that didn't get it on, didn't have time to read through it, the sorts of things that we transferring the money to and for. That was my point from the origin.
So it goes to 4 places. DESI code 1450, which is district MIS and technology, that's 428,000. To 3200, which is medical and health services, that's 224,000. It goes to, then the bulk of it goes to 9,300 and 9,400. These are the special ed outplacements, 367,000 to programs with non-public schools, and 1,981,000 is payments to collaboratives.
Very good.
Thank you, Michael.
And very helpful. Thank you.
This is going to be a voice vote. Brandon?
Yay.
Ron? Ron, you're on
Yay.
mute.
Sorry.
Melissa?
Yay.
Michael?
Yay.
Peter?
Yay.
Isabel?
Yay.
Dean?
That's a yes.
And I'll be a yay as well. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to new and old business. I do have some things, but first, does anybody else have anything for new and old business? Isabel?
I just have 2 quick things, maybe 3 quick things. First, if anyone is able to attend the musical this coming weekend, please do. I know that the students have put so much work into it, and the pandemic has been incredibly hard, especially for live theater. And these students are going on to do incredible things. So please check it out if you have a chance. Also, I knew Counselor Feckley personally, and so I am so saddened to hear of her passing, and my thoughts are with her family and all that knew her. And lastly, I just wanted to make a clarifying point on what was said earlier about the Student Opportunity Act. So it's just my understanding that the legislature, through the budget process, could have fully funded Chapter 70, including the enrollment piece, and using the numbers that we had originally requested in regard to 2019 numbers, and also fully fund the Student Opportunity Act at a 2/6 or 1/6. It seems as though the legislature put 40 million in a reserve, which is unfortunate because, as we have talked about, the data does not show that the students are not returning. Rather, they all seem to be returning in Leominster and in Worcester. So we are going to be competing with other schools in the grant process, as well as regional transportation for this reserve. I am super grateful that the legislature passed the Student Opportunity Act in a 1/6 fashion. However, it does indicate that Worcester is slated to receive 11 something million. Leominster is supposed to be receiving millions of dollars as well. So for anyone who is listening, the Student Opportunity Act's intent was to give more funding to districts based on their low income count of their students, give these students more educational opportunity and get them better funding. So all of the school districts that are getting the Student Opportunity Act funding this year are getting the funding that they so desperately need and deserve. Last year was a really big issue because they funded it at 1/7 and did not include the low income count and increment piece in that funding. And so that's why we're seeing a significant increase in that funding this year. They are doing it the right way. And I'm sure Michael, we have had conversations about not necessarily having the appropriate count. So certainly Leominster could benefit from counting the kids and making sure we get all of them counted and covered for next year's Student Opportunity Act funding. But it's not, the 40 million in reserve is not affiliated with the Student Opportunity Act money. It just seems as though the legislature decided to fund one over the other. And that's where that is.
Thank you, Isabel. So
Then
I wanted,
How
Go
are we
ahead.
getting, just quick question, so how are we, what was the amount, Melanie, that we're getting an increase from the state? It's like 1%. So where's the millions of dollars? And the Student Opportunity Act in Worcester is slated for $13 million increase. Ours is under $1 million. I don't know where you're getting these numbers.
With our low income count, Dean. So we are going to get the money that we are slated to receive. Last year we got, I think, 70,000 because it didn't account for the low income portion of the Student Opportunity Act's formula, which was the issue. This year we are going to get it. But what we could have done is used far more money to have a better understanding of our enrollment numbers, right? So we could have used far more, $1.2-ish million for that enrollment count. And so every district is just getting the state funding in the Student Opportunity Act that they deserve. Where they are not getting their funding is in the enrollment count.
So we're getting 70,000 and they're getting 13 million.
No,
And
that's
they have
not,
1,000.
we got
one-
70,000 last year.
And how much are we getting this year?
I would say upwards of $5 million, Melanie. I would say close to 6. I think that was the estimate.
I don't have the exact number, but you're close.
And they have 1,000 less students.
Right.
But they are coming back, and that's what the data does indicate. So they are also missing out on the enrollment monies. It just doesn't conflate those two issues.
It doesn't make this understandable to the taxpayer who
Yeah.
tries to figure this out when they pick up the newspaper and see that they've got 1,032 kids less.
Yep.
We have 100 and something, and they're getting 13 million, and we're getting less than half of that.
Right.
I'm just saying, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, our district numbers in general, our population is far less than Worcester's. I mean, we do have a pretty sizable low income count, as do they. So they are slated to get the money that they need, and we are slated to get the money we need for Student Opportunity Act. Those kids that they are missing and the kids we are missing are probably returning. So the issue therein lies, both districts will then be fighting for that 40 million in that reserve fund, which is not fair, right? So that is where the problem therein lies. Because we know both districts really need it. I know they're getting more money in Student Opportunity Act, but that's because they have more low income students and they have a greater population. That's just how it works. But that's going to be the infighting now because the legislature didn't fund both.
and it's not just us, our two districts, it's many
Correct.
districts are
It's
fighting over that,
and
just
across
because
the
you
Commonwealth, like
were
Springfield.
indicating it was Worcester and us, but it's many districts are fighting for
Well,
that.
I'll bet.
I
I'll
have
bet
some
that
answers.
Worcester,
I have a couple
I'll bet
answers
that
for
Worcester
you,
gets
Dean.
a lot more money than we get
I'll
out of
I
the
have-
40 million.
I have a couple answers for you, Dean. So the first is that the state is fundamentally failing to properly count the low-income students according to the law. That's been an ongoing problem, and it hasn't been addressed yet. So while this time the legislature put the money in for the low-income increment for the students they've counted, we're still not properly counting them. So we have a number of low-income students in Leominster who aren't being counted. That has to be fixed. We have to keep pushing the state on that. The second thing is the Student Opportunity Act changed the 10 categories of low-income school enrollment to 12, and we got demoted by that. And that cost us quite a bit. So that's another issue that I don't know how to fix, but we've got to keep pushing them to fix. That's probably the piece that's most impacting the difference that you are talking about between Worcester and us. Worcester did not get demoted, we did.
This is exactly what I've been advocating for many years now.
To the chair,
You made my point.
Eileen,
Yes.
from my perspective, this is an exercise in futility, but I would like to know if you could ask the city councilor, Claire, who's there, if she has any insight on this financial boondoggle that we're talking about.
So, it's not part of our
I
meeting
know,
to ask,
I know.
put Claire on the spot for that.
Oh, I wouldn't, I'm not putting her on the spot. I just,
And it's new and old business. And so I think we can move the question. It's new old business. People get to comment, and we have other business. So let's not put her in a uncomfortable situation. I move the question.
So
And-
at this
All right.
point, the other things that I have, Melissa,
Yeah, so I'm sorry, the other thing that I wanted to see about, I know we've been obviously busy with budget and COVID issues, but at some point I'd like us to revisit the topic of the boosters. From my understanding, when we voted on the all city boosters, they were supposed to be doing a presentation annually. I think all the boosters are supposed to be doing a presentation annually. So I'd like an update on that. And I know there was also a discussion at one point about the viability of the all city booster. So I'd like to get a status of where we're at, what boosters folded, which are still in place, and where we're at with the band as well.
okay, thank you, that's important. I wanted to bring up our meeting in person. We broached it last meeting, so people have had an opportunity to think about that. But with the state, opening up its guidelines, we, probably should be considering meeting in person in June. So I need to, hear how people feel about that. But I think at this point, that probably makes the most sense. We probably would need to meet someplace else other than Appleseeds, whether it's in the auditorium or the cafeteria at the high school, so that we will be socially distant. But I throw that out there for the committee so that we can make a decision. Any thoughts?
So my reading of the governor's statement today is that the state of emergency is going to be ended on June 15th. And there's a line in there, it's a little bit vague, but he's going to work with municipalities on consequences of that. So my takeaway is that the executive order that enables us to meet remotely is going to expire on the 15th or shortly afterwards. So I think we'll have to meet in person. I'll be fully vaccinated by the end of this month, so I will be okay with meeting in person personally. And any venue is fine with me.
yeah, I'm fully vaccinated, and whatever is decided by the state government will have to follow through. Whether we meet in an assembly or in a cafeteria, it's just we have to literally play it by ear because nothing is etched in stone. We'll just have to see how he decides, how he promotes what kind of meetings we can have.
Anybody else want to weigh in, Brandon? I thought you were trying to speak,
Michael-
and then Peter.
Michael pretty much covered exactly what I was going to say. It appears that the executive order that allows these kind of remote meetings to occur is going to expire. So I think we just need to move back to in person.
Peter?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is if it's possible, at least for a short time, when we start meeting in person again, that we we do try and have a larger venue so that members of the public can still separate if they choose to, even if the guidelines don't mandate it. That would be my only input.
Melissa or Dean, do either of you have any input?
No, I agree. I think it's time. I think we're ready.
Yeah, I have no issue. The only thing is I've got a whole team of new people coming into City Hall as part of our administration. And if we have enough to put on the agenda, I mean, that's what I do for a living. I go to meetings. So I have no problem with it. But as far as the summer meetings, if at all possible, we can, I mean, if there's a need for one, let's have one. But if not, let's piggyback them with another meeting. That's the only thing I ask, is because I'm going to be hiring a new budget director and assistant budget director, and we have a number of new staff members. So that's all. Other than that, I'm around all summer. I'm not going anywhere.
So the other thing that we also need to put on our agenda is, our business manager position, because that is something that the school committee does hire. So we need to do that soon, and to go through that process. Dean, I would also like on a future agenda, maybe the next time, a little update, and I don't want to put you on the spot now, but an update on the athletic field behind the high school, what's going on with that, because that's, been an ongoing
Just got one
process.
last Friday, so I can either email that to everyone, or you can just put on the next agenda. I'm sure it'll be a little further along for the next agenda. So why don't we put on the next agenda?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. The other thing is,
Can I just
Yep.
add one other thing? I'm sorry. Somebody put it in the chat, but I was actually going to mention it at the end of the conversation about returning to in person. I don't know how big of a hassle it would be, but clearly this venue has made it more accessible to parents and staff members. I don't know if there's a way to continue that so teachers and parents who have kids at home can still participate in the meeting if they want to make a public comment without having to leave their home. I don't know how big of a hurdle that would be, but I think it's something we should consider.
yeah, I think, I mean, I personally don't have a problem with that. I think we just need to make sure that we are in alignment with, all sort of rules and regulations from the state, and making sure that we are not, violating any open meeting laws or anything else, because we clearly were never able to do Zoom kind of, meetings until the pandemic. So, I would just want to make sure that, it's okay going forward that we continue a hybrid kind of model or not, but I personally don't have a problem. Melissa?
I was just going to say, I would think at some point the city council is going to be needing to have the same discussion. So maybe the two minds can come together and have somewhat of the same policy about whether they're going to use electronic Zoom or Google Meets.
So that's a perfect segue, because we had talked about at our last meeting, requesting a joint meeting with the city council, which we do once a year, usually around the budget time. I have not heard anything back. So if that has not been requested yet, we should get that in the works before everybody sort of disperses.
Christine has submitted that, and they are looking for an agenda. If we can submit an agenda of why we want to meet with them, Mark Vidanza will then consider it.
Okay. So typically we do talk about, sort of any questions around our budget or things like that. Certainly to Melissa's point, how we're going to be operating as a city, and, are we going to be continuing with, sort of Zoom and in person would be a good agenda topic. I don't know if anybody else has anything in particular. Lots of times the city council has specific questions for us as well. But I just wanted to afford us the opportunity. That's usually something we do once a year. And just making sure.
They are going back into session for the first meeting in June.
So, and, maybe just talking about some of our, if we have any other capital improvements, or other building projects, that's usually, something that we do talk about, with the city council, so they're aware of, some of our priorities, that might impact, the community at large.
Okay.
So if anybody else has anything else they would like to add, they can certainly, email, Chris and Paula,
Okay.
to see, what people want to do. And then, I think that was, and then if we need, sort of an update on school choice and kind of where we are with that, process, given, some of our own students are coming back and we're probably getting some requests from out of district.
Okay, great.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything else? Otherwise, we're going to move into executive session.
And we will be returning.
So
I'd like to make a motion that we enter into executive session under Chapter 39 of Mass General Laws for the purpose of contract negotiations. And like I said, we will be returning.
okay, and can you just specify what contracts, because which is not something that we've typically done in the past, but
We're talking about, let me get the list out here. Where is it?
sorry, I don't have it. Yeah.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah.
LEA Unit B Secretary.
Thank you.
Under executive session.
Union, Teachers Union.
And Isabel, I would imagine you will
I will
be
not be
excusing
joining.
yourself.
And I will be recusing myself from the vote when you return.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second it.
Yeah, Peter beat you to it. This is by voice vote. Brandon,
Yay.
Ron,
Yay.
Melissa,
Yay.
Michael,
Yay.
Peter,
Yay.
Isabel.
Yay. go.
You're not, you're well, we're going into executive session. Dean,
Yay.
and I'm a yay. So what we are going to be doing, just for the public to understand, is we are going to be leaving our Zoom meeting. Everyone make sure that you log out and certainly mute yourself. We will be going into executive session in Google Meets. And then once our business is concluded in executive session, we will be rejoining the Zoom meeting so that we can finalize our vote.
I
All
never
right.
received the second email with the information about executive session.
It was my
But he-
understanding that Chris had sent that out to everyone. I did not obviously double check who was on it.
We went through all the emails today in my office, and it's right up until about 4:30, and we can't find, unless this stuff is going in. This is the third time I've had trouble. Unless it's going into our filter,
Is it going to
can't.
spam or
But we
junk?
don't see it. We do go into junk and spam, and we don't see it.
I know I received it earlier today, so I don't know what to tell you. I'd have to pull it up to look to see who was on the
Well,
invite.
If
But Chris, can
somebody
you
can send it
please?
to me.
Yeah, Chris, can you please send it to Dean?
I thought Chris wasn't here tonight.
All right, so if she's already left, when I get into the next one, I'm gonna ask her to send it to you, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks. So we're just waiting to the general public. Thank you so much for hanging around to hear our vote. We're just waiting for everyone to join us after they left executive session. I don't see Dean or the superintendent yet.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Dean. Paula's here.
Yep.
Let's see, do we have everybody else? We got Brandon, Ron. Where's Ron? We don't have Ron yet?
I'm here.
Oh, there you are, sorry.
It's all right.
Melissa, Michael, Peter, Isabel. Okay, we're all here. So we're back in a regular session. Thank you, everybody, again. We have exited executive session and we are prepared for a vote. Michael, would you like to make a motion?
I move that we ratify the memorandum of agreement between the Leominster Education Association and the school committee for Unit A.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's going to be a voice vote. Brandon,
Yay.
Ron,
Yay.
Melissa,
Yay.
Michael,
Yay.
Peter,
Yay.
Dean,
Yay.
and I'm a yay. And just for the public's knowledge, Isabel is abstaining due to a conflict of interest. Do we have another motion to be made? Peter?
Yeah. So I'll make a, I'm sorry, I lost the words. I'll make a motion that we do a 2% stipend increase for the year 2020. I'm sorry, for this school year for tutors, senior custodians, and ESPs.
And secretaries.
Secretaries, sorry.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's going to be a voice vote. Brandon,
Yay. Sorry.
Ron,
Yay.
Melissa,
Yay.
Michael,
Yay.
Peter,
Yay.
Dean,
Yay.
and I'll be a yay. And I know we talked about parameters for another group. Do we have any other groups? I think it was just the two groups for a vote, correct?
There's one more.
The
Is there one
non-union.
Oh, non-union. Okay, Brandon, would you like to make that motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we do a 2% increase for non-union members.
Do we have a
Second
second?
that.
Thank you. It's going to be a voice vote. Brandon,
Yay.
Ron,
Yay.
Melissa,
Yay.
Michael,
Yay.
Peter,
Yay.
Dean,
Yay.
and I'll be a yay. And motion carries. And I think that concludes the meeting. If I can have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
We've had lots of people, so thank you very much. And everyone have a good week. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Stay safe, people.